Hey, what's going on, guys? Kenzie here. So imagine the following scenario. You have a big data set and you want to extract some specific fields from there. You don't need the whole one. And how would you approach? Well, traditionally, you would be using the API for a current given framework to extract only those fields you need, but that needs some additional knowledge on how to do that. You need to read through the documentation and so on. If you're new to the framework, it might not be that easily. But in PySpark, there is a fantastic way of achieving the goal of getting the filtered data simply using the SQL queries. That's pretty much all about it. So in PySpark, you can create a data set you can create it from scratch from whatever source, like as usual, and then you can just use this SQL query to filter the data set however you want. And I personally think this is incredibly powerful and handy feature. So in this video, we'll create a simple data set using PySpark, and then I'll show you how to filter that data set, that data frame, using the SQL query. That's pretty much all about it. So without further ado, let's actually start. First, I want to let import PySpark as a module. So I just say import find Spark, and then to initialize it I say find spark.init, and then I specify the path. So in my case this is op Spark. Then we want to import some packages, so from PySpark.sql I want to import Spark session. Alright, now I want to initialize the Spark session. So Spark equals to Spark session.builder.master. I'm gonna be running this locally, hence local, the only partition, one CPU. The app name is, let's call it SQL query, just SQL, and then get or create. Right, and now here we have the data set. So let's create the data, and it's incredibly easy to create new data sets in PySpark. So every line, every row can be defined as this tuple. So for instance, let's say Robert and male and the salary, let's give him something, and then let's say James, also male, like this, and for instance Michael, and like this. And then let's add a couple of girls, right? Let it be like, I don't know, 44. It goes, okay, it's a little bit too much. Alright, and then Jan, for instance, like this. Right, and also define the schema. So schema is very simple. It's just name, gender, and the salary. Right, so now we want to create a data frame. So I say df stands for data frame equals Spark create data frame, and data is equal to data. So this is the keyword argument, and this data is this variable, and same for schema. So this is the keyword argument, and this is the actual variable. All right, and let's say we can say df.print schema, for instance, and df.show. So for now, let's make sure that we actually did manage to make it work. So I say Python 3 sql.py to run it. Spark is not defined. Oh, sorry. Spark session. Just a typo. Okay. So many typos. Okay, now it should work. And it now should bring the schema for a data frame and the actual table that we have. And from there on, we should be able to start referencing this data frame using the SQL queries. Yeah. Okay, so we got the name string, gender also string, and salary is the type of long integer. So far so good, and here is our data frame being printed as a table. So far so good. Okay, so now we don't want this. Well, actually, here we can just print original data frame. Yeah, and here let's say enable SQL query queries. So we need to say df dot create or replace temp view, and an argument here is a sort of a name of a database we're looking for. So for SQL, you need like in which database you're looking for sort of a data, and let's call it just DB. It doesn't matter. You can give it whatever name. So or call it temp, for instance. That's all just fine. And now, for instance, we can simply say Spark .sql, and now let's say, for instance, select let's start by standard thing, select all from temp. So now it would result exactly the same data frame as before, and to show it we actually need to say .show like this. So here print select all, and let's have a look. And then by altering this SQL query, we can do whatever we want basically. So yeah, by the time it's loading, yeah, we'll probably, well, okay, let's wait until it's done. So it would be fairly the same output in this case, but anyway, we've got this like from the SQL, using the SQL query now. So first it should print, yeah. So first it prints original data frame, and here we go. And well, it's really same like from like as we selected all. It's really the same. But for instance, let's go a bit further on. So here we want to select the only column. So for instance, print. So here just say names, for instance, and names is gonna be equal to select, and I want to select the name. Select name from temp. In this case, so this is just the regular SQL, nothing special really. And now I can say names dot. We can actually print the schema as well here. So this should be the only column, and names dot show to actually print the data frame. So let's have a look. It works. Yeah, and by the time it's working, let's say select columns with specific data. So let's say we want to select only only males or only females. Let's try to select only females. So let's say females equals to spark.sql yes, and select all from temp, where gender equals to female, and the same here, so females dot print schema and females dot show. All right. So yeah, here you see like we got the names from the previous. Yeah, let me just run it. But the time it would be running, it would be explaining what's going on. So here you see like the schema is we have the only column. Yeah, the only column name. It's the type of string, and we have this newly created data set. So literally filtered all the data using the SQL. This is fantastic. I really like how it works. Okay, and now. Now we'll filter only these two columns from the entire data set, which is also good. So literally the entire power of SQL can be done. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, so from the previous part we have only the names, and here okay, so why do we have only Maria here? What about Jen? So a little bit strange. Okay, yeah, that's because Jen is male for some reason. Well, she's not male, she's female. Okay, so one last time. So yeah, guys, I believe this is incredibly handy and useful feature to be able to use this SQL queries to filter the data however you want. So yeah. I think that's something that is not available in pandas, for instance. And sometimes, yeah, I was dreaming about this sort of a functionality. Yeah, because when you have just like CSV or JSON data, and you can filter it this way, yeah, now we have the Maria and Jen, both are females, which is exactly the case. So yeah, this is very handy. Okay, this is it from my side. Thanks for watching. Until next time, and take care.